So maybe now you feel crushed, you feel pressed on every side. That pressure isn't proof of failure, it's proof of life. You've probably heard this story about the Chinese bamboo tree, which is watered for 5 years with no visible growth. Hello and welcome back to She with Ade the One. I'm your host, Ade, and I am simply delighted to have you back on my show. Whether you're a long-time listener or joining us for the first time, thank you for making space in your day to pause and breathe with me. I always love to start by asking, as you know, what are you grateful for today? Take a deep breath with me. Pause. What's stirring gratitude in your heart? Today, I'm grateful to still be standing. I'm grateful that spring has truly arrived. Little buds on trees, tiny splashes of colour, breaking through winter's grey. And I'm thankful for life itself with all its beautiful, messy, sometimes totally exhausting complexity. How about you? What are you truly thankful for? I'd like to talk to you about why today's episode feels especially important to me, because it's about growth, but not the pretty, polished kind we often imagine. You may have noticed that there was quite a gap in our episode schedule. February's question and answer, and March's panel episode haven't been released yet. I promise they're still coming over the course of this month, but I wanted to bring you this episode first, real time, raw, because it matches exactly where life has brought me, and I hope maybe some of you too. At the start of this year, 2025, I had such high hopes. January's theme was new beginnings. The podcast started to flow and I developed a rhythm. I even had a color-coded chart for my episodes. Sister Sync was growing. My book and business were taking shape. I went to Nigeria at the end of last year and stayed until the first week in March. It was a wonderful journey of connecting with my husband, visiting my grandchildren, spending time with my daughter and other family. When I returned to the UK, I thought I'd simply pick up where I left off, and I had done this many times before. Instead, I found myself slipping into a depression. It didn't help that my boiler had packed up and it was still as cold as winter when I returned. This time, it felt different, more uncertain, floundering, darker still, totally emotionally and physically flat. I would wake up and feel, well, nothing. No excitement, no dread, just nothing. Some days, getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain barefoot. Brushing my teeth? Massive victory. Other days I'd force myself into the back garden just to feel the sun. And even that I needed encouragement from one of my great friends to do. I remember sitting on my egg chair in my backyard, wrapped in a blanket, staring blankly at the sky. Even the sun felt distant. Even beauty felt muted. None of my usual rhythms brought life. Prayer felt impossible. I didn't have the words and they just wouldn't come. Art, which I usually loved, became endurance only because I'd prepaid for the lessons or I might not have shown up. But each brush stroke felt heavy, forced, And then to top it all off, social media turned against me. One morning, I woke up to find that both my Facebook and Instagram accounts had been deleted, apparently for violating community standards. And those of you who know me know how far from my character that is. I was stunned, and it was quite laughable, really, but I felt hurt, and it disconnected me from my community. It felt like everything I was trying to do to stay connected was suddenly stripped away. And it was just dark. Did you know 1 in 5 adults globally struggles with mental health, according to the World Health Organization? The National Institute of Mental Health says 40% of people facing depression never seek help, and 75% of personal growth happens invisibly, like roots digging deeper in winter, according to Psychology Today. So if you've ever felt stuck, numb, or like you're growing backward, this episode is for you. If it weren't for the love of my friends, my Sister Sync community, my family, who kept reaching out even when I couldn't, I truly don't know where I would be. They anchored me even when I couldn't anchor myself. When I chose growth as April's theme, I imagined blooming, multicolored splashes of color, breakthroughs, visible wins. But real growth, on reflection, it can be very different. It may be very slow. It can be silent. And it mainly is hidden. You know, there's this quote by Christine Kane that says, sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually you've been planted. So I've learnt that I wasn't buried for those 5 weeks. I was planted. And maybe you are too. Let's take a look at what nature reminds us of. You've probably heard this story about the Chinese bamboo tree, which is watered for 5 years with no visible growth. Every day, the farmer waters what looks like empty soil but sees absolutely nothing. The tree is building its network of roots to support its upward trajectory until suddenly in the 5th year, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. So I've got a question for you. What in your life are you watering that hasn't yet broken the surface? Let's take another example. The caterpillar inside the cocoon. Did you know that it dissolves entirely? It becomes almost nothing before it starts to rebuild itself. Legs, body, the beautiful wings, and it transforms into a butterfly. Now, apparently, if we force that ugly cocoon open early because, you feel empathy for the struggle, the butterfly would never survive. It wouldn't develop the wings or the strength in its legs enough to take off and fly. So it would never reach its potential nor show its beauty to the world. Harvard research calls this developmental disintegration, and it finds and says that it is necessary for transformation. And again, my question to you is, what if your goo phase is actually a form of rebirth? Becoming sometimes requires the hidden, painful, invisible work of transformation. So, where might your soul be reforming, even if you can't see it? The seed buried in darkness pushes against heavy, unyielding earth. It doesn't bloom because the conditions are easy. It blooms because it keeps reaching, pushing through the earth, making those roots go deep down into the soil to derive the nutrients that it needs, and then pushing upwards towards the light in the form of a shoot as it begins to show the growth that has already started deep within the soil. So maybe now you feel crushed, you feel pressed on every side. That pressure isn't proof of failure, it's proof of life. The diamond doesn't start off shiny. It starts off just like a bit of sand deep within the bowels of the earth, but the pressure constantly over many, many years produces that sparkling jewel that we so covet. Even the pearl begins as a wound, a grain of sand trapped in an oyster. Over time, layer after layer, that irritation becomes something precious. Layers of nacre, otherwise known as mother of pearl, turn pain into luster. The wound is the place where the light enters you, says Rumi. So what irritations, what wounds might be building something beautiful inside of you right now? And let's look at the moon. Even when you don't see its light, even when the night is at its darkest, it's still pulling the tides, it's still holding its place. So you don't have to be seen to be becoming. Maybe today your victory is simply being here on this podcast listening to me. Maybe it's sending a quiet text, drinking some water, sitting in the sunlight. Tiny victories, silent progress, real growth. Here's what helped me gently, without necessarily fixing anything or fixing everything. I sat in the sun, even when I felt numb. I felt the light on my skin, and I would say, I'm still here, I'm grateful. Sometimes it looked like texting a friend with one word, pray. I didn't need to explain. I just needed them to know. I also listened to scripture while I slept, trusting that even when I couldn't pray, God could still speak. And sometimes I didn't hear anything back, but that was okay. And if scripture isn't your thing, find something uplifting that hopefully can minister to you subconsciously as you take your rest. I allowed my art to be heavy and imperfect, but I showed up anyway as best I could. These tiny anchors matter. And in fact, I dare say they saved my life. So where am I today? I'm feeling a lot better, a lot more animated. My physical and mental energy is almost back to top notch, and I'm very, very grateful for the help of my friends, my family, my GP, and my community. I'd like to invite you now to sit quietly or even journal along with me. What's quietly growing in you right now, even if no one can see it? Where have you seen small victories this week, even if they feel insignificant? What is one tiny thing I can do today to nurture those roots? You are growing, even if it's invisible, even if it's silent. And listen, if you're in a season of blooming, celebrate it, dance in it, enjoy it, live fully in it. Your joy doesn't dim anyone else's journey. In fact, it lights the way. It shows us that there's light at the end of the tunnel and that our seasons of blooming are just ahead. Again, if you're looking and longing for a nurturing community, Sister Sync is right here. At the moment, we're not rushing to expand, we're deepening, but there is space for you. So head over to www.the-oneconnection.com and register your interest. I want to leave you with this. Growth is rarely comfortable. It's rarely fast. And it's never linear, but it's happening. Even when you feel invisible, even when you feel lost, and even when you feel broken like I did, you are rooting. You are becoming, and in the words of Rumi, don't you know yet? It is your light that lights the world. Your light matters. Even if it feels small today, your light isn't gone, it's gathering. If today's episode spoke to you, do share it with someone who might need a reminder that unseen growth is still growth. Do subscribe, leave a review, or send me a message. I'd love to hear what's stirring quietly inside of you. And until next time, stay rooted and keep growing.